true nature of reality and why it does not matter. By Aion Farvahar. Our life is not about the reality we wake up to every morning, but about how we choose to live in that reality. When you realize that, then it is not the reality that runs your life, but you yourself and what you choose to bring to this world every day, given that reality. Hi, this is Aion Farvahar. I'm glad you're here. This channel is about self-realization and honoring our life purpose and meaning. If you're interested in these topics, please subscribe to stay connected. Your support is the foundation of this channel and encourages me to create more content in the future. Today, we want to focus on the nature of reality. What is the true nature of reality? Is what we see as reality a material reality, a spiritual reality, or a matrix-like simulated reality? These are interesting questions, but does it really matter to find the answers to these questions? Probably not, because no matter what the nature of this reality is, our consciousness still remains immersed in it. So maybe a more important question about reality is how we should see it or interact with it. For example, the reality of life in a remote off-grid village without running water may not be as comforting as the reality of life in a gated community in an upscale urban area. But a teacher who lives and teaches the children in that village may have a far more meaningful life than someone who lives an easy life in that affluent community. The point here is that it is not the reality around us that brings meaning to our life, but how we affect that reality through our presence and expressions in it. Let's use a metaphor here to clarify this. Imagine reality as a stage or a movie set, and you as an actor or actress who volunteered to play a role in it. Now the question is, what role do you feel you should play in this reality? What role does best represent your authenticity and who you really are? What role would bring the highest sense of meaning to your life? Would you be open to affect this reality in a positive way? For example, would you be open to be someone that this reality desperately needs? Maybe a caring individual, a loving parent, a motivator, a teacher, and so on. Maybe you can contemplate on this later on your own. Contemplations like this help us see the reality around us not as something we need to accept as is, but as something we can affect by the way we express ourselves in it. This presentation is meant to bring some awareness to this perspective. More specifically, we cover the following topics. Brief overview of models describing the nature of reality. Noticing the difference between objective and subjective reality. And how to change your reality by changing how you express yourself in it. Let's go over these. Brief overview of models describing the nature of reality. As we focus on reality and our relationship to it, it may also be useful here to briefly highlight a few models describing its nature. If you wish to learn more about these models, see the references listed in the description below. There are different ways we can think about the nature of reality. Let's outline some of them here. Materialistic nature of reality. This view implies that reality consists of everything that is real in a scientific sense, meaning that it is objective, observable, and measurable. Unfortunately, this view of reality cannot explain subjective experiences of reality, for example, psychic phenomena or mystical and metaphysical experiences. Because of its reliance on the concept of matter, this view of reality cannot properly explain the existence of consciousness or where our memories are stored. This is known as the heart problem, the problem of not being able to explain where our consciousness is located or originates from. Simulated nature of reality. In this view, our reality is a matrix-like computer simulation, a simulation we all collectively participate in. The idea of reality not being as real as we may want to believe probably started with Plato's allegory of the cave, where people stuck in the cave took the shadows on the walls as real beings. The idea of our reality being a simulation was postulated in 1977 by American science fiction writer Philip K. Dick. This was also the subject of Jean Baudrillard's 1981 book, Simulacra and Simulation. The simulation argument of reality was also the subject of a paper published in 2003 by Dr. Nick Bostrom from Oxford University. Using a probabilistic argument, this paper shows that there is a probable chance that the reality we experience is indeed a simulation. Holographic nature of reality. This view of reality was proposed by American author Michael Talbot in his 1991 book, The Holographic Universe. His idea was inspired by a quantum view of consciousness theorized by Professor Carl H. Pribram and the renowned theoretical physicist David Bohm. This view implies that reality is not physical, but rather a hologram created by an interconnected ocean of energies. Holographic view of reality and consciousness has also been the subject of a doctorate dissertation by Shelley Renee Joy, which can be found using the link in the description below. And spiritual nature of reality. There are several spiritual views of reality. One example is the concept of Maya in Hinduism, which views our so-called physical reality as an illusion that is designed to prevent us from noticing and connecting to our true nature, our soul, or Atman, our divine essence. In this view, we need to find a way to awaken from this illusion and connect to our divine essence. There is also a shamanic view of reality, where everything, including material objects, have a spiritual essence. In a way, reality we experience is just a small part of a much broader spiritual reality, a reality commonly referred to as shamanic cosmos. These are interesting perspectives of what the nature of reality could be. But as mentioned before, the objective nature of reality, whatever that may be, does not change our experience of it. What does change our experience of reality is how we view it subjectively and what we choose to bring to it. Noticing the difference between objective and subjective reality. In this section, we want to focus on our relationship to reality. This relationship can be objective or subjective. Objective reality is a reality that is experienced by all of us in exactly the same way. But reality can also be viewed subjectively, because each one of us experiences it differently in a uniquely personal way. For example, it is scientifically shown that the color of an object, it is not necessarily a unique property of that object and can be interpreted differently depending on the color of its surroundings or its observer. Even insects are known to have a different perception of color. For example, a bee may interpret what we see as a red apple as a black apple. Objective view of reality is not complete because we also experience reality subjectively. For example, mystical experiences, psychic experiences, or near-death experiences are inherently subjective and cannot be explained by an objective view of reality. This distinction is important because it can change our perspective on how we view reality and life. In a way, we can view our life as a collection of our subjective experiences of reality. For example, if I'm someone who has a spiritual view of reality, I may experience my old age and end-of-life process differently than someone who has a materialistic or non-spiritual view of reality. Even though the reality of old age and end of life is objectively the same for both. That is why the richness and meaning of our life is not about the objective reality we are immersed in, but rather how we relate to that reality subjectively and how we choose to perceive it, interact with it, and express ourselves in it. How to change your reality by changing how you express yourself in it. As mentioned, our experience of reality is mostly subjective. This also means that we have more control over it than we think. We may not be able to change the collective reality manifesting all around us, but we can change how we view that reality and decide what we want to bring to it. If you look around yourself, the reality is all around you. So from your perspective, you are the center of your reality, and everything you do in life is an expression emanating from you as the center of your being in this reality. In a way, your life is the collection of all your expressions that locally affect the reality around you and the people close to you. Metaphorically, the relationship between the reality and your conscious presence in it is similar to the relationship between a blank canvas and a creative artist who is meant to bring it to life. As an artist imagines and creates a painting on this canvas, you are also here to express your individuality through your authentic presence and expressions in this reality. For example, if the reality around you lacks understanding, choose to become the one who understands. If the reality around you is meaningless, choose to make your life more meaningful. If the reality around you lacks compassion, choose to have compassion toward yourself and those around you. If the reality around you is filled with fear, choose to awaken courage in you and spread it. If the reality around you is dying, choose to do things that makes you feel alive. If the reality around you is deceptive, choose to live an honest and honorable life. If the reality around you is devoid of love, choose to love yourself and extend that love to others who need it. Regardless of what the reality around you is, choose to be the one that you feel you should be, or the one that this reality desperately needs. Closing remarks. In closing, I hope you have found the ideas presented here useful. The most important takeaway here is for you to realize that no matter what the reality around you may seem, there are always things you could do to change how you experience it. So if the reality you're experiencing is not as positive or as life-affirming as you want it to be, choose to bring more positivity and affirmation to your life and the life of others around you. Choose to be the person you wish the world had more, and cultivate human qualities that you cannot find in the world around you. When you do this every day, soon you will notice how the people and the reality around you change and begin to resonate with you. If you have found this presentation inspiring, please like and share it with your like-minded friends. Please subscribe to my channel and share your thoughts and comments. For more information about myself and my life mentorship practice, please find my bio link in the description below. Blessings.